It'll be good. Good morning.
Good morning, Magnus.
So what is happening here?
What is happening here is two people met not long ago. They had a talk and they liked it, and they said, "Let's share it with the world."
Ha! That's kind of cool. So give me a quick introduction of yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name
And
is
us,
Serge.
maybe.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So my name is Serge Heubrechts. I live in Belgium on the Far East side. 42 years old. I have a baby daughter. I'm a fiance living in the house with me. I love to learn and read and talk to people. That's why we're doing this, I guess. And that's it in short. So how about you, Magnus?
Oh, I'm delighted. There are things I'm getting interested just right there that I didn't know. What's really cool with us too is that we have virtually never met, but we can recognize that there's a knowledge that overlaps and interacts. But I think even more important, there is a passion. And that's true for me. And the passion I have is for human beings and learn about them and who we are, because it's my experience after 30 years in the business that oftentimes we don't respect human beings enough. And with respect, I mean from the neuroscientific perspective, we don't understand how we work. So we try to collaborate and work in ways that are not humane. In the deepest, I recognized your smile there. Yeah. There's so much we don't know about each other. That's cool. So we are going to do something that we are going to call the temporary podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is the first episode. Is there a topic for today?
I have a thought, Magnus. So earlier this week, I saw this post by Timothy Clark, who wrote the book 4 Stages of Psychological Safety, where he had 2 columns. One was with leadership and traits for leadership, and one was with management and traits for management. And although he didn't intend to create polarity, it kind of felt that way for me. And it kind of triggered me. Like, why are we always between this left and right and black and white? And why not join the 2 together? And maybe that's the start of our conversation today. And I don't know where it will take us, but it triggered me. And I thought maybe that's something I'll throw at Magnus on Tuesday morning. And then
are we then going to throw the polarity or the management leadership specifically, or
either way?
Anything that resonates. Yeah, cool. Well,
either way.
I have been working.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. I have been working as manager and I learned a lot. Yeah. But maybe this polarity thinking. I started my day kind of slightly differently, but all the same. I was triggered by your studies and sharing about Taylor, which surprisingly enough included principles that was quite humane. Like, it's not a good practice to overuse workers. And we have been guiltying on making black and white Taylor as the bad guy, the cause of all evil, or someone more nuanced said that the overuse of those principles or applications into companies where it doesn't work. But it turns out that there's a common theme there. We think a bit too lazy. We communicate a bit too lazy. In this, I love that you and me can connect, right? It's the possibility of the new modern world. But it seems though that in this era of digital information, are we simplifying things too much? Are we just using headlines and polarities and black and white thinking? And if so, how in God's name are we going to find any interesting answers? The way we ask questions is how we find answers. This is not. So there you go. That's what I'm thinking of right now, just winging it. So management, leadership. Management is an invention I learned from the last book by Craig Larman and Bas Wadde, and that really hit me, because if it's an invention, it can be reinvented and so forth. Leadership is also interesting. Who is the leader? Why was it, Serge, to start off there, that it triggered you? Is it possible to pull into that?
Yes.
Push into that?
It's what triggered me is this, like, and we also see it, we both move around in the agile world, and we also see it there. It's like the agile is good and non-agile is bad kind of thing. And it's like the leadership is good and the management is bad. It kind of felt like this. If you read the traits, they would be opposing. And maybe because if I think about it again, if I put them together now, they also could be complementary. But the choice of words, some of the words that were chosen for me felt like they were opposing. Well, I think they're actually complementary. And so that's what triggered me. Like, why do we want to trigger this polarity? And you see that all the reactions that come in on social media, right? It's this, yeah, but this, no, it's left, no, it's right, no, it's purple, no, it's blue, it's all of that. And that's what triggered me. And what triggered me is like, how are we going to break the pattern a little bit? What can we do to bring these thoughts together? And I like how you came into your day, because this connects to it. It's this, the laziness of our brain. Is it because we've always been like that, or is it triggered by the social media? It's only one tweet away. Like, we can think, like, we've been trained to think in tweets, right? It's this, you have 140 characters, and maybe it's that, I don't know. Maybe the one is enhanced by the other. But yeah, what triggered me mostly is, how do we connect again? How do we bring opposites together? How do we look into people, look into their thoughts, listen to them, and connect our thoughts to them, rather than create this wedge between us and push us away from each other?
Wow. There's a lot of things in my brain, but I tried to stay with you. I was thinking of us and them, which is a thing we do as human beings. It's in our biology, in our brains. We dichotomize a lot in us and thems. Us, we nuance, we see individuals. Thems are just thems. They are like, a gray mass. Everyone is the same. When in fact, I might have a lot in common with someone of those us's, like managers, employees, the managers of them. Stereotyped, we are not curious. We try to protect. So that's one thing, I guess. And this polarization, we shouldn't polarize. I mean, a tweet is a good thing. It's not the only thing. And so, what would it be to slow down? You and me, I think, even though we don't know each other, we work in organizations that we do complex work, complicated work even. And we have complex and complicated organizations sometimes. We can debate that as well. And so what does it do when we are in high pace? Well, we don't use the full brain. We go on automation, especially if we get stressed out. And one good way of becoming a bit agitated is, of course, left, right, wrong, black, white, purple, no, orange. Oh, why? That would be interesting to instead to say, okay, so why is it that today you are trying to say something by making two columns where you have leaders and managers? What is the thing you want to say with that? Now what opens up?
Yep. Yeah, it's this really nice thing about our thoughts is that, like, we do this back and forth, and then I trigger you into all kinds of directions, and you trigger me in all kinds of directions again. So I'm going to try to stay with the topic a little bit as well. Maybe it's also like, there's a difference between perception and truth, right?
Oh.
So what triggers me now is that Timothy Clark, his intent was to show the difference in how they're complementary. And my perception was that it creates polarity. And I like what you say about why don't we look at the intent of it? And then we come to the answer to what I was trying to talk about. Like, most people do things with good intent. Almost everybody does things with a good intent from their perspective. So what if we go looking for the intent to understand that and then talk about something? Would that not be like creating that connection I was talking about? If I understand your intent and you understand my intent, we don't have to agree, but at least we are able to connect a little bit and see each other's viewpoint on it.
Yeah. And that's who we are as human beings. It gets more fun if we connect deeper. Oh, it's at least more meaningful. And it means that we spend less time in fight-flight modes and more into truly understanding. And when we truly understand, that's the opportunity to start understand how we can make a difference, if that is called for. If just running quickly with emotions, well, I guess emotions is a good thing, but there is more. And especially you and me, we are both like in the agile world, or I don't even like the word agile anymore. But it occurs to me that we need to practice how to think a bit more deeply, to know about the difference between perception and truth. I love that, for good scientific reasons. That is who we are. Our brains work that way. We don't see reality as it is necessarily. We see it a bit lazily, according to neuroscience, for good reasons. And oftentimes it serves us well. Sometimes, though, maybe not. And so, circling back to social media and the volume of information, which probably tends to, there's so much to read. I pick up the pace a bit. And when I pick up the pace, I'm approaching that mode where maybe it's a bit of fight-flight response. There's 100 emails, there's a flow on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and who knows where. And so you just increase the pace all the time. So if there's a good thing with the information flow, I really love, Serge, how you picked up and you had this crazy idea after our very first conversation. You said, let's do a podcast. And that's the opportunity to pay forward, and it's an opportunity to maybe, if someone even views this, to slow down.
That's a nice invitation, right? If
down.
This is our first invitation to the podcast world and the people who watch this or listen to this, is slow down. There's so much going on that grasping things properly, like deep understanding, and I would say together with that goes something like deep listening to come into deep understanding, is something you need to slow down for. And then for me, slowing down also means taking it connects with taking the time for it. And that is something we don't seem to have anymore. Like, everything is in a rush. And what you say, this is how our brain works. When we're in a rush, the monkey takes over, right? It's the muscle memory. We just go into the lazy thinking, and it goes, and we walk through it, and then we miss so many things. And it's not per se bad, but at some point, pressing the pause button, come into the moment, and make the connection is I think it's necessary. It's a good thing that it would be a good thing if we can do that a little bit more.
To get more concrete into, let's say, the agile world, let's talk about Scrum. To me, that has always been the intent with this inspect adapt, that you have specific events where you try to pause and look at it. I mean, daily stand-up, of course, but also the retrospective. You look at work when you're not in the work. And the reason for that is because you cannot do both at the same time. You cannot really run fast and then really retrospect and think carefully about your techniques and what did I do or not. So yeah, So slow down. If you're noticing that you're making black and white polarization, maybe ask yourself, oh, is this time to slow down? What do I think? Why do I think that? What about my teammates? And if you're viewing this episode of the very first temporary podcast, did you slow down? And what things started to become present in your brain that you can notice right now? Comment, share.
Yes. What triggers me here again, Magnus, is the part of the self-reflection. Because we talk about connection and connection to others and connection to thoughts and perception and truth, but part of the slowing down, I think, could also be self-reflection. How did I react? Why did I react like that? What triggered me to do that? And how can I, like the same thing. How can I connect? How can I react more empathetically to something? How can I try to understand that person's point of view better?
And how can I become a leader by demonstrating transparency when I do self-reflection? Because you just did. You said about that post, it gave you the trigger polarity, and now it occurred to you, maybe it's in my perception, the intent might have been different.
Absolutely.
Who knows? And I shared with you earlier on, I thought I talked too much. And something happens when we dare to be imperfect, because that's who we are as human beings. We're not perfect, and you and me, we are just trying something here. But I feel grateful right now for this opportunity to have a quality discussion.
Yeah.
I hope we continue, and I hope someone that views this finds this valuable. If it's okay with you, I think we should wrap it up.
That would be nice.
Is this a closure for an episode?
I think it's really nice. Yes. We talked about keeping it shortish and bite-sized, so let's keep it at that.
I will then stop the recording unless you want to say something more.
Yeah, I was thinking about just like, can we do like this one sentence where I give my rep and you give your rep of a talk?
Oh yeah.
And then the conclusion thing. So for me, it's about, let's slow down to think about the difference between perception and truth. Let's slow down to connect. Let's slow down to self-reflect. And maybe that's an overarching idea when I think of it now, is let's see each other as the human beings that we are, and keep that in mind.
Wow. Thank you. So what's my wrap then, following up on that? So like a third person instructing to myself and anyone listening, consider that by slowing down, you allow yourself to connect deeply with other human beings. And in connecting deeper, you find a place of meaningful interaction. And consider that this might be the birthplace of true happiness, and we are allowed to be happy. There's a bit of provocation in there, but you know.
Yeah.
It's a polarity, just to be a little, it's a polarity to thinking deeply. So that's a wrap. Thank you today. Thank you for anyone who listened. If anyone did, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. If you listen, let us know what you think. It's all about transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So all comments are good, even the bad ones. And yeah, we hope to connect more with all of you. Thanks a lot, everyone. And thank you, Magnus.
Yeah, thank you, Serge. Bye-bye.